Welcome to the Explainer. So, if you or maybe someone you know is gearing up to apply for a U.S. visa anytime soon, you are absolutely going to want to pay close attention. On April 28th, 2026, the U.S. State Department rolled out a new directive, and honestly, it completely flips the script on non-immigrant visa interviews. Walking into a consulate blind to this change, yeah, that could totally derail your plans before they even get off the ground. But hey, don't stress. That's exactly why we're here today. We're going to break down exactly what this rule is, why it's happening, and how you can confidently navigate the whole thing. And just to put things into perspective, I really want you to grasp the sheer magnitude of this policy shift. We are not talking about some niche issue that only affects a tiny handful of people. Just look at this number, 11 million. In 2024 alone, the United States issued roughly 11 million non-immigrant visas. That's huge. We're talking about a massive global scale here. This new directive is going to touch a huge percentage of those applicants moving forward, so understanding it is absolutely crucial, whether you're a student, a tourist, or a skilled professional. Okay, let's dive into our roadmap for today. We'll be looking at the new 2026 visa rule, the 2 deal-breaker questions you'll face, the actual reasoning behind the rule, how to navigate the interview itself, and then we'll wrap up with a handy preparation checklist. My goal today is to take you from, well, whatever anxiety you might be feeling right now, straight to feeling completely prepared and empowered.
All right, Section 1, the new 2026 visa rule and understanding the April 28 directive. Let's establish exactly who is impacted by this new mandate.
You know, there's a pretty common misconception out there that interview changes usually just target international students. But actually, this new rule casts a really massive umbrella. It applies to all non-immigrant visas. So yes, that includes your F-1 student visas, for sure, but it also covers B1/B2 tourist and business visas and even H-1B work visas. Every single temporary visa type at consulates worldwide falls under this new directive. No matter what category you fit into, you're going to be facing this change. Now here is where we need to be crystal clear about the high stakes involved. Under this new directive, if an applicant answers yes to these specific new questions we're about to look at, or honestly, if they just decline to answer them altogether, it triggers an immediate visa denial under Section 214B. Let me just repeat that. Immediate refusal. There is absolutely no middle ground here. There's no maybe, and there's no chance to, pull the officer aside and explain yourself later. Your response right there dictates your immediate approval or denial.
Moving on to Section 2, deal-breaker questions, and exactly what they will ask you at the window.
Okay, so here's the very first question. Have you experienced harm or mistreatment in your home country? You really need to know that consular officers will be listening very, very closely to your exact response here. They aren't just making casual small talk. They are strictly fulfilling a federal directive. And then here is the second question. Do you have any fear of returning to your home country? So the absolutely crucial point to remember is this. Confirming either of these 2 questions, or even just refusing to answer them, leads straight to that immediate 214B denial we just talked about. These are the 2 major hurdles you've got to clear right off the bat at the visa window. Section 3, the reason behind the rule. Let's take a step back, separate fact from fear, and look at the actual policy context driving this change. Basically, the core goal of this policy is entirely focused on immigration enforcement. What happened was the Trump administration identified a pattern where individuals were entering the U.S. on temporary non-immigrant visas, and then shortly after arriving, they were filing asylum claims. So the whole intent behind this April 28th directive is to screen for those future asylum claims right there at the consulate window, before anyone is ever actually granted entry to the U.S. If you indicate any fear of returning home, the government treats that as a signal for future asylum claim, which instantly makes you ineligible for a temporary visa. Now, what's really interesting about this next point is that it busts a lot of the myths currently circulating online. Notice what this rule is not about. It has literally nothing to do with your grades, your choice of university, your financial status, or how well you scored on your English tests. It is strictly 100% about immigration enforcement, determining your intent to stay beyond your visa, and like we said, screening out future asylum claims. Just understanding this distinction is super key to keeping your confidence high. All right, Section 4, navigating the interview and exactly how you should respond. I really want to reassure the vast majority of you tuning in to this explainer, especially international students who are just seeking a legitimate degree. For most of you, the honest, totally correct answer to both of those deal-breaker questions is a simple no.
You have a home in your home country, you have family there, and you fully plan to return after your studies. Answering no isn't some sneaky coaching trick, it's just the practical truth. You just say it clearly and you move on. But here is where applicants actually tend to trip up. The trouble rarely comes from the verbal no alone. It usually comes from inconsistencies. Consular officers are actively looking for red flags. Like, for instance, does your statement of purpose, your SOP, mention hardship, social pressure, or discrimination back home, maybe just to make for a more compelling essay? What about your public social media? Do you have posts expressing deep safety concerns or highlighting a political conflict? Or during the interview itself, are you giving this hesitant, nervous pause before answering no? Consular officers are highly trained to catch when your documents, your digital footprint, or even your body language contradict your verbal answer. So you're essentially looking at a fork in the road here. For your standard student, you answer no, you have the clear intent to return home, and you proceed right down the standard F-1 path. Easy. But what if your situation is genuinely complicated? Say you or your family actually face targeted persecution or violence. In that case, an F-1, or honestly any non-immigrant visa, is simply the wrong path under these new rules. In that specific scenario, just applying and hoping for the best is not going to work. You really need to seek guidance from a qualified immigration attorney to find the proper legal avenue. And finally, Section 5, the preparation checklist and your actionable steps. Let's leave you with a concrete action plan, because preparation is definitely the best antidote to panic. First off, let's briefly contextualize this so you can kind of see the bigger picture. This rule didn't just drop out of nowhere, right? Since early 2026, there has been a broad tightening of all non-immigrant visa processes. We already saw expanded social media disclosures roll out earlier in the year, and now we have the April 28th directive taking effect. What this timeline is telling us is that visa interviews are absolutely no longer just a rubber stamp formality. You've got to take them seriously. So here is your highly actionable pre-interview checklist. Step 1. Pull up your SOP right now and review it. Revise any language that could even loosely be interpreted as describing fear or safety concerns back home. Step 2. Audit your public social media for any kind of contradicting posts. Step 3. And I know this sounds a bit silly, but it totally works. Actually practice saying no out loud. Be confident, be clear, no hesitation. Step 4. Ensure all your standard financial and university documents are perfectly in order to prove those strong ties to your home country. And step 5, if your case is at all complex, please consult an attorney. Following this checklist is really going to put you completely in control. I want to wrap up our explainer today with one really critical question for you to chew on. Are your documents telling the exact same story that you are? Remember, standing at the visa window is just one piece of a much larger puzzle. Your verbal answers, your application materials, and your public digital footprint all need to paint one honest, consistent picture of a temporary visitor who fully plans to return home. If they do, you are going to do great. Thanks so much for joining me. Keep learning, and hey, best of luck with your interview prep.